Deathrattle Rogue is continuing to evolve. We're going to take a look at the newest version of Deathrattle Rogue. This deck has actually pretty much always been Mine Rogue, and it's still Mine Rogue, but there's actually a few extra wrinkles here in this deck. This is a deck that you're going to be seeing more on the ladder. I've got the deck code down in the description of the video if you're interested in playing this deck. And if you're not interested in playing the deck, it's always good to know what your opponents might be playing so that you know how to play against it, and you can take appropriate lines of play against them. I'm going to go down the list card by card. One other note here, if you queue into Rogue on the ladder, if they're showing Rogue, then most likely this is going to be the list they're playing, so you can kind of prepare yourself for what they're going to be doing. So take a look at the list again, card by card. Backstab still in the deck, can be used as a defensive tool, can also be used to proc our own death rattles if we were to use this to say on enable mine. Preparation pretty straightforward, it's just mana cheat. Blackwater Cutlass, this is no longer going to be kept in the mulligan now. The tradable and being able to reduce the cost of a spell by 1 is still good. Sometimes being able to equip this weapon early in the game to kill, say, like a Fossil Fanatic, if your opponent is Demon Hunter, can be pretty strong. So this card still makes the cut. Still the same uses as always, other than, again, you don't keep it in the mulligan. This deck is no longer running the Maester package, which means trading this doesn't discount Knolls. So we really want to look for better things in the mulligan now. Gone Fishing, again, pretty straightforward, just card draw, dredge. Being able to see the bottom of your deck is good, drawing a card is good, and it's also only 1 mana. Pretty solid card there. Shatter Shambler, one of the newer cards introduced into Standard Hearthstone. When this card first actually hit the meta, people were putting it in Bomb Rogue. They thought, this is going to be a good way to be able to detonate bombs. The mana savings, you play this earlier in the game, and then later in the game, your bomb is only 1 mana instead of 2. That's proven to be pretty good in a lot of cases. And so when this came out, people were just trying to take advantage of the Mine Rogue list. Pretty much what we've seen is the problem with Mine Rogue is not being able to detonate the mines. It's actually finding the mines and having it in your hand. So one of the things that I've said all along is with Mine Rogue, no mine, no win. If you don't draw Naval Mine, you just have absolutely no way to be able to win the game. And so the evolution of the deck, the refinement of the deck, has been people thinking, number one, how can we draw more cards? And number two, can we have a way to still be able to win the game if we just never draw Naval Mine? And so that's where we're seeing the refinement in this deck coming in now. I'm still running Extortion. Again, this could just be a defensive play, and this also can be used to detonate our own Death Rattle minions. Again, we're not going to be keeping this in the mulligan anymore because it's not going to be able to discount Knolls. There's no Maester package in the deck. So again, not keeping it, going to be looking for better things. Forsaken Lieutenant still in the deck. Obviously, this is a core to the Death Rattle package. Any Death Rattle package is going to have this card, and I think this actually is likely a keep in the mulligan now, in the general mulligan, to say the least. Naval Mine, of course, still in the deck. We are running 2 Wicked Stabs still as well. This gives us a little bit of reach, potentially another way to be able to kill our own Death Rattle minion if we have to. Sketchy Information still makes the cut. This is the only way we can actually tutor our naval mines. And, 2 copies may be just a little bit too much. You have to be able to draw a mine to be able to win with Naval Mine Rogue. If you don't draw a mine, you don't win. But unfortunately, you run into situations where you draw both mines, and then Sketchy Information is actually just a dead draw. And there's a lot of games where drawing dead on one single turn is actually enough to lose us the game. So 2 copies in the deck, 4 now. Possible to have some potential movement there. 2 copies of Snowfall Graveyard, again, just core to the Death Rattle package. Counterfeit Blade, again, just another core card for the Death Rattle package. So now we get down into the new additions that we're seeing in Death Rattle Rogue now. It's really not just a Naval Mine Rogue anymore. Swift Scale Trickster, next spell costs 0. And then, of course, smoke screens here. Draw 5 cards, trigger any Death Rattles drawn. So this is really a 2-card combo, Trickster and Smoke Screen. I would keep both of these in the mulligan if I had them both in hand. I don't think you ever keep individual pieces because Trickster is dead without Smokescreen, and Smokescreen is going to be a dead card in your hand without Trickster to be able to play it. But when you play these as a combo, being able to draw 5 cards is incredibly strong. Small body in play 2/2, not great, but it's not nothing. And but really just being able to trigger Death Rattles drawn. And you think about Death Rattles going off, you potentially hit 2 mines, that would be 8 damage. If you have a Snowfall Graveyard in play, that could be 16 damage plus putting the mines in your hand. So Potential for definitely some high rolls and some low rolls with this, but again, typically just drawing cards is going to be really good. With Mind Rogue, if you have enough time to be able to draw into your cards, you're going to find a way to be able to win. And so the way that people have gone about trying to extend the game, if you miss on Naval Mines, is actually with the Burning Blade Acolyte. So Deathrattle, summon a 5/8 demon spawn with taunt. So 5/8 is just a huge body. You think about drawing this with Smokescreen, you put the 5/8 taunt in play immediately. It's going to be something that your opponent has to get through. They don't have access to be able to punch you in the face. Can extend the game 1, potentially even 2 turns by just having one of those bodies in play. Snowfall Graveyard, of course, you would get 2 5/8s in play. It starts to be a big wall of taunts. Lots of health for your opponent to have to go through, and lots of damage for us to be able to hit our opponent in the face if those minions survive. So it almost has kind of the same feel as like a Brute Demon Hunter from a couple of card sets ago, or a couple of card releases ago, where you can just get these big taunts in the way, they can punch face, and they buy us time to be able to draw more cards, to be able to piece together combos, or really just to be able to kill our opponent. Sometimes your opponent just can't deal with them. Some of the power plays for the deck now would be, play Snowfall Graveyard on 3, Trickster Smokescreen combo on 4. You could put, 2 to 4 5/8s on board. You could do a lot of damage just with the Naval Mines. So potential to do some really powerful things with this deck. It feels like the deck should be more consistent. I don't think there's a whole lot of data available on this just yet. I do know there are quite a few people that are playing this deck at high legend ranks, and typically, when a deck like this is seeing play at high legend, it starts to filter its way down the ladder very quickly. So again, if you queue up into Rogue, this is likely the list that you're going to be playing, so you'll be able to make the appropriate lines of play in your games against those opponents. General mulligan for the deck, if you want to try this, I would keep Snowfall Graveyard. I would be keeping Sketchy Information. I think you keep Forsaken Lieutenant, and if you have Trickster and Smokescreen, you keep both of those. If you only have one piece, then you would toss that away and actually look for something else. One final note about the list here: Counterfeit Blade. Just remember, if you've had a Naval Mine Deathrattle go off and a Burning Blade Acolyte Deathrattle go off, you don't know which Deathrattle is going to be picked up by the Counterfeit Blade when you play it. So could be some awkward moments if you're thinking, okay, I play Blade and it picks up the Naval Mine Deathrattle, then I have X amount of damage over 2 turns to be able to kill my opponent. And that's not going to always be the case. You could actually pick up the Burning Blade Acolyte Deathrattle, but it's not necessarily bad. Sometimes just being able to get that 5/8 in play if your Counterfeit Blade breaks is actually going to be really strong as well. And one other tidbit about this, if you're thinking about tinkering with the deck and maybe sticking in some other Deathrattles, just be careful. Sketchy Information, draw a Deathrattle card that costs 4 or less and trigger the Deathrattle. Burning Blade Acolyte is a 5-mana Deathrattle, so Sketchy Information is only going to hit the Naval Mine here. But if you were going to put in something like, say, Korak Blood Rager, I've heard some people mention that as a possible inclusion in the deck, just know that that's going to mess with your ability to be able to tutor out Naval Mines, which can really ruin some games for us if we're not careful. That is the deck. Those are the cards. I'm Uncorrupt. This is the new version of Deathrattle Rogue. Thank you for watching. Good luck out on the ladder.